Hi everyone, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Mária Lepiš Valigová and I am at the beginning of my doctoral studies at the Institute of Archaeology of the Slovak Academy of Sciences in Nitra in Slovakia. Today I would like to present to you my research on the topic clay stamps in the context of women's visual identity in the Eastern Hallstatt culture. Currently, I'm working on this study together with my supervisor, Dr. Anita Kozubová, who is also affiliated with the Institute of Archaeology of the Slovak Academy of Sciences. In this presentation, I will first provide background on culture context, clay stamps, and the concept of female visual identity in the Eastern Hallstatt culture. Then I will introduce the study aims and explain the methods used to analyze these artifacts. Next, I will present the results, focusing on typological variability and possible uses of clay stamps. Finally, I will discuss their interpretation in the concept of gendered practices and the broader significance of these findings for understanding women's roles in prehistoric societies. To help orient the audience, I will first provide a brief overview of the Eastern Hallstatt culture. This culture dates from approximately the 8th to the 5th century before Common Era. It was located in Central Europe with a particular focus on the eastern regions of the Hallstatt culture area. It is characterized by a rich material culture and complex social structures. Burial practices were ritual, including both cremation and inhumation graves, with artifacts in both types reflecting social roles and status. The Eastern Hallstatt culture also maintained contacts with surrounding cultures, including the Vekkerzu culture. Understanding this cultural background provides the necessary context for analyzing clay stamps and their potential role in women's visual identity. Within the culture context, it is important to clarify two key concepts: clay stamps and visual identity. Clay stamps, also known as pintaderas, are small, portable artifacts with a flat stamping surface and a handle. They occur in various types, sizes, and shapes. Their exact function has been a subject of long-standing debate. In the Eastern Hallstatt culture, they are mostly found in settlement contexts. In contrast, in the Vekkerzu culture, clay stamps are often found in graves, particularly of women and children. These artifacts have been studied by several researchers, and their typology was developed by Julia Kispaludi in 1997. Visual identity is understood as a set of material and aesthetic elements through which individuals communicate social status, social role, age, group affiliation, or personal identity. This aspect has also been studied by several researchers in the Eastern Hallstatt culture context, including, for example, Katarina Rebaj-Salisbury. I will now move on to the aims of this study, which include analyzing the potential connections between clay stamps and female visual identity. Another aim of the study is to investigate whether these artifacts could have played a role in constructing or expressing female social and personal identities. To address these questions, the researchers considers how clay stamps may have been involved in gender-specific activities as well as in symbolic or ritual practices. In this study, the methods focus on analyzing the occurrence, distribution, and typology of clay stamps. Typological analysis considers the variety of stamping surfaces and handle forms. In addition, I will attempt a re-evaluation of the existing typology, working primarily with published material. A methodological challenge is that so far no objects bearing stamp impressions are known from the studied area. It is assumed that clay stamps were primarily used on organic surfaces, such as textiles, leather, or the human body, which have not been preserved in the archaeological record. The interpretation of their possible use is therefore based not only on archaeological context, but partly also on ethnographic parallels. The framework of gender archaeology is applied to interpret these artifacts in relation to female identity, production activities, and possible ritual practices. Comparative material from the Vekkerzuk culture is also considered. On the slide, the images represent 3 examples of different types of clay stamps, one with a large rectangular stamping surface, one small elongated or rod-shaped stamp, and one circular stamp. And here we get to the results. The results of the study highlight the typological variability of clay stamps. Stamping surfaces include several types, such as round, rhombic, square, or rectangular forms. In the Eastern Hallstatt culture, stamps are mostly found in settlement contexts, for example, at the fortified settlement on Molpir Hill in Slovakia, where a triangular stamp from the introduction of this presentation was discovered. Stamps in the Eastern Hallstatt culture may have had their origin in the Vekkerzuk culture, from which they reached the region through contacts together with other material. In the Vekkerzuk culture, clay stamps are often found in female or child graves, suggesting a potential symbolic significance. Stone slabs, sometimes bearing traces of pigment, were also found. These slabs appear in burial context together with stamps. For example, such a slab comes from the Vekkerzuk culture cemetery in Chotín and can be seen in the image on the side. I move to the interpretation of the findings. The material suggests several possible uses of clay stamps. They may have been involved in everyday activities, such as textile production, but also in body decoration. Considering their presence in burial context, particularly in female graves within the Vekkerzuk culture, ritual practices must also be considered. These could include apotropaic or possibly healing functions. On the illustrative image, you can see a drawing of the decoration on one of the vessels from a grave in Sopron in present-day Hungary. On the garments of the depicted figures, interpreted as women, repeating patterns are visible. Such patterns may reflect the use of stamping techniques in the creation of visual motifs of textiles or bodies. The association with female burials points toward gendered practices. In this light, stamps can be understood as tools of visual communication and as a part of the material expression of female identity. To conclude, this research is still in progress. At the moment, I have access to only one clay stamp for direct analysis, which limits the scope of laboratory investigation. Furthermore, many of these artifacts were cleaned in the past, which makes it extremely difficult to detect traces of pigments or other substances on their stamping surfaces. At the same time, I am currently revisiting older excavation reports and published material. There is still potential for identifying previously unrecorded clay stamps, meaning that the number of known finds is not yet final. These limitations and ongoing revisions highlight the need for future scientific analysis, including residue and pigment studies. Despite these challenges, the study opens new perspectives on the possible role of clay stamps in the visual and gendered practices of the Eastern Hallstatt culture. This study contributes to understanding the visual and social dimensions of women's lives in the Eastern Hallstatt culture. Clay stamps may not have been simple tools, but objects embedded in gendered social structures capable of communicating identity, status, and cultural belonging. Future research could explore parallels in other regions and further investigate the symbolic functions of the artifacts. If you are interested in this topic and have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me at the email address provided. I would greatly appreciate your constructive feedback. That is all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention.